All right, guys, welcome to Melbourne, Australia. We just won an overall 2 days ago. I've spent the last 2 days teaching here at an event at Reese's Gym, and I'm super excited. We're gonna dive into a session with Emily King. She just won her overall at the last regional show. She's turning around and doing a second show in Brisbane this week, and so we're gonna kind of walk through what this first reintroduction of stimulus post-show looks like when you have to string a couple different shows together. She's doing her prep work now. We did a little bit of testing for injury profiles that we're gonna address in the all-season setting, but we're gonna be running a lower body session with 1 to 2 reps in reserve. So we're gonna jump in here in a second and look at the movements that are gonna be done. Inter-rotation stretch, this is the one, the go-to that I prefer. So here, kneeling, and then start here. And the reason I like this is because you're getting a gauge for how far off of your normal you are. So like if I sit in this straight and I sink into it and I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing check-ins for 9 hours straight. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have to spend an extra 10 minutes here before I go train. So even though I give you a list, it's like a suggested amount. Like go up or down based on how you're feeling that day. So we'll go here and we'll kind of like spend some time. I'll rock back and sink into it again. And then when I feel more comfortable, then that's when I'll go across. Torso follows foot, and then I'll go again, okay? I'm really just trying to get a barometer of, am I improving my ability to move into this front hip position? If yes, and I've accomplished that job, then it's time to move on. And then that's the same for each thing.
How far inwards do I go?
How far across? Until it's like pretty uncomfortable to do it. So it's like a barometer of like, for me, that's like here. So like when I get here and like I catch, that's when it's like, okay, this is too much. That's not helping me do anything. This is where it's like I can actually keep the pelvis, sink, and go. That's like my end point for me. And you'll see like when I switch, my end point on this side is like 40 degrees this way. So like you see me sticking there before I even get into that bottom position. Like with my left side, I have to like force it quite a bit. I have some massive iliopsoas problems on my left side from 12 years of competitive golf, because I always torque into this hip. And so as soon as I move this foot away from midline, like this starts to get really uncomfortable. So like I had to like ease into it and then sink back and then sink forward and then sink forward and then sink back. And then I finally like can get it like once I do it a couple times to like there. And that's when it's like, okay, this is like brutally uncomfortable. That's all I'll do for my left side. And then hopefully over time, this gets further. So you're trying to force that adaptation. So that'd be internal. So let's see it. Foot on other side. We want the inside of the foot against something. Yeah, there you go. And then sink forward, torso back. Yeah, I feel the difference. And then go that way, and then move the foot to here, and then torso follows, and then keep going. See how it catches sooner? Yeah, that's good, yeah. You just have a lot of range. You might find that one range is worse than the other.
I'm flexible.
Yeah. Does that feel uncomfortable yet?
It's tight.
Yeah, so,
It's like doable.
okay, that's fine. So just make sure, like, tendency with you wellness girls is y'all like to go like this with this because you're used to doing everything in a hinge, right? So this needs to be vertical pelvis under you, sink forward into it. Like I'm even okay if your heel comes up here a little bit. And then sink back, and then move the foot across. And then go again. Yeah, I feel
Really
it.
more in my knee.
In your what?
My knee. Like,
Your knee? Which one?
I don't feel it's like tight in my hip, but it's not like.
Yeah, yeah, because you're you're extremely mobile. For someone like me, it's like brutal. And then back, and then one more go. It's not brutally uncomfortable yet, right? Yeah. So you're just trying to like, okay, I can move like I normally move today. Today might not be the day, but you'll have a day where you're like, you do your second one, and you're like, ooh, this does not feel right. All I'm trying to avoid is that you go into doing your first movement of the day like that. So this is not here for the good days, this is here for the bad days more than anything. So you'll spend some time on this side. So when I prep work, I'll start with my left back, because that's my problem side. and I'll sit here for like a couple reps, and then the right side I just go through once just to make sure that there's not a problem. You're just testing for problems. Like if you feel good, leave it, go to the next thing. Like the point is not to exacerbate or spend so much time doing prep work. It's like trying to find a problem and then doing something to fix that problem yeah, problem solved. And the problem is within the movement. That I don't put things that are strictly tests because I want you to test and find it and then do this to the point where it's not a problem anymore. That's why movement prep is so important, right? So this is just like here. Lean forward to get into it so you don't like start and stretch, and like sink into it and just try to keep yourself vertical, and you'll start to feel it as you get here. Just want your hip off of the side, and then if it's really uncomfortable here, you can like, instead of applying force by sinking, you can just lean forward to kind of like get a little bit of room and then start to ease into it. This is where you won't probably have any issues, and you won't either, because y'all are both like a little bit more external rotation biased. Does that feel comfortable or uncomfortable?
Pretty comfortable. I can feel like a tiny little bit of pull there, but not.
Yeah. All right. So now pull here and try to go lean this way. You feel it on that turn down glute? Good. Okay. Do the same thing. Grab here and pull that way. Nothing?
I can feel it pull.
Yeah. Yeah. And so last thing, here and then go there without picking your butt up. All the way. Watch, watch. I got to get away from that to do it. So I'm here in the 90-90. This is not a great 90-90 because I have that side that's not very good. Here, and then you're going to rotate. Start in a 90-90, rotating back and forth from that position to there. And then you're obviously going to direction from that position to there. You always have one side that's easier. Yeah, and so there, if you get really good at it, you don't lean back as far. Yeah, and then just kind of progress that before we go into this. So do this first, and then I'll change this on your sheet to 90-90 roll. That's what you're doing right now. You can do it single leg or dual legged. We're gonna try single leg first. If it's too hard, we'll go to dual legged, okay? You're just trying to stay glued to the floor, tuck the pelvis, and feel the glutes and hamstrings contract without shaking or letting your hips sag or staying in too much pelvic tilt, okay? So what I'm trying to do is learn where this ribcage to pelvis stack position is so that when you transfer it to a glute bridge, you don't start to go into like anterior pelvic tilt. Yeah, so you're like trying to stack this pelvis. So before you go, like the arch in your lower back on the floor, close it, and then go. And then do the same thing here.
No, it's still more like for us, we're like, oh, what if we lose people? And then it's just like our relationship.
Yeah, so that's like pelvic control issues. Just try to get a little closer.
I feel good.
Yeah, it's an easier position to be in. This is harder. Still mostly hamstring. A little bit more glute. Yeah, it's a better foot to hip position. When you get too far away, it'll start going into like adductor. That's the best rep you've done. You see how you're closing that gap in the lower back to the floor? It's really good. I'll try the other side. So you can't see it from here, but your left side wants to droop a bit relative to your right. Try to hold that equal with your pelvis. There you go. So you weren't conscious of it. Yeah, sweet. That's a big thing to make sure you do right, because like if you start letting that pelvis on that other side tilt, you're like not doing the goal of it's to posterior pelvic tilt both. And I'm doing it unilateral to test how well you can hold that hip up. You feel the difference? Yeah, so like if you can now do that with your pelvis in these compounds, that's where we start seeing that like difference of like glute development start to get closed, because now we're activating fibers in both directions much better. It's really good. But little things like this, like making sure your pelvis doesn't tilt while you do it, like it's just detail stuff. Just do it right and it'll be good. I'll change this external rotation in your sheet. Finish these, let's do like 4 or 5, and then we'll look at what the next one is and wrap that up. You done 2 or 3? Have you done 2 or 3?
3, that was my last one.
Okay. right, so we started with lying hamstring curl. Pretty typical to do like short and in-range hamstring work. 1 rep in reserve kind of across all of the sets. And then what we'll go into next?
RDL.
RDL. So really the first session back is 2 to 3 reps in reserve on major compounds, 1 rep reserve in the isolation. Stimulate the fibers that you need to get into, stimulate the fibers that you're trying to train the furthest away from the actual show day. We'll do a little bit more leg work later in the week, but this will be the biggest session we do across the week leading into the second show. Good? Pump good?
Yeah, that was nice actually.
Good. All right, so we just wrapped out lying hamstring curl, so short and in-range hamstring curl work. She's gonna go into a calves glute bridge next. Just like making sure that pelvic over rib cage is stacked. Load the short and glute in range before we go into lengthening glute in range and the RDL. This is the largest session during that peak week that we'll do, and it's the first leg day after we competed 2 days ago. Just trying to get as much stimulus as possible put in here so that it doesn't take away from the peaking in a couple days and we're a little bit closer to show, and then start to taper the volume into that show day across the peak week. So this will be the largest session. You'll notice it's still not a huge session, but it's the biggest session we do during the week. So don't use these because when your foot goes into the softness of them, it's like gonna move your foot, and that's not what I want.
I think I understand.
Yeah, it's literally just a pistol squat standing on a box, and you're trying to learn to activate your glutes. What you're gonna find is, you know how the reason I do the glute bridge first is you're gonna wanna lean and tilt that pelvis where you don't activate your glutes as well. So keep the pelvis stable. That's how you're gonna find like loading them equally.
I was doing it at the gym, like relatively similar to him, and it was a lot easier on the side than.
So that's pelvic
I used
position.
to be able to do like a normal pistol squat, but I could only ever do it on this leg, not this
Not
leg.
that leg, yeah. So a lot of that's like the positions you get into and if you stabilize it with your glute well. So I'm trying to do that to make you aware of your glute and then go into the pistol squat so that it's like, okay, it's activated. How do I feel this as I descend? And stabilize this pistol squat and then come back out of it. And so you'll build that box up over time.
Yeah.
So all I want to see on the single leg RDL to lunge is like start here into that single legged RDL position and then step into the lunge. Okay, all you're trying to do is like when I step into this lunge, is this back leg really tight? Do I feel unstable when I go into the single legged RDL? That kind of a thing. And then you're just gonna do the same thing. So when you step into this lunge, you'll come up, hold that position, go out into the RDL, lunge. Okay, this is your like, does it feel comfortable to do this? Cool, let's go train. Feels uncomfortable to do it? It's like, let's figure out some stuff that we need to do to make it feel comfortable. It's like your test retest system. So like if you do like your first 2 reps and you're like, yeah, cool, feels great, send it. Don't go do like 10 reps per leg. Let me watch you do it, and then. Yeah, good. Good. All the way up. Try to, look at that open hip. Yeah. There you go. Does that feel uncomfortable when you do that?
My hamstrings are a little bit tight.
So that's like a good sign, okay, maybe we need to do all of our reps here on this movement. Like we do 10 reps per leg on this single legged RDL to like, because each time you do one, like it should feel a little easier to get into that position and then go. And then each time you eccentrically load it and do it again, it'll feel a little bit easier each go. And so that's like, okay, that's a day that I do all 10 reps. Because it feels a little tight, I don't quite get in the same spot. It's where video feedback can help. So just like filming on the front. And then just, you should be done, you're ready to roll. This is literally to prepare you for the session and catch any issues before you create an injury. That's all I want. Yeah, good. 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 Looked a little light.
Oh, yeah.
Good pump, connection though?
Yeah, that's good.
Good. You do a good job keeping your rib cage over pelvis stacked. Like staying in line with that, it looks really good.
I've drilled that into myself.
Huh?
I've drilled that into myself.
Well, you're gonna flare your back if you don't.
Yeah, it's been one of the things that I used to just be like,
Just drape yourself over the, yeah. All right, so we will do an RDL here. So our typical session is ham curl, glute bridge, RDL, adductor. We don't have an adductor today, and I don't need her doing all of the volume this week because we're actually gonna end up doing 3 touch-up sessions throughout the week before the second show. So what we'll do is we'll do this RDL, load, lengthen glute fibers, do it in her normal rep range, but keep this like 1 to 2 reps in reserve. That way the recovery capacity is there, but we get the stimulus that we need to not only retain tissue because we've got a 3rd show after this next one, but to kind of keep some fullness in there as we go into the peak. So 2 sets, dumbbell RDL, stop it at 2 reps in reserve. We're gonna call that a day and roll from there, if you don't mind. Choke up on your arm a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, choke up with your arm. So like instead of grabbing here, grab like up here. There you go. Remember when I was talking and I talked about like the banded rotation to passively pull you into positions?
Yeah.
That'd be where I start.
Like putting something.
So attach band here.
Yeah.
Pull you this way while keeping this straight. So like it'll want to go that way on you, so keep it here.
Yeah.
To here, contract, let it go.
Yeah. Move out more.
And it'll move you forward here.
Okay.
If you're too far away from it, it'll feel like it's pulling you that way. If you're too far in front of it, it'll,
Needs to be like.
yeah, in line. Yeah. All right, guys, so you guys got a pretty cool view into some prep work of both Emily and Lydia today. 2 wellness clients, gonna do really well. Emily's gonna hopefully bring home a pro card this year. And then Lydia will be doing pro debut hopefully next year. So pretty cool. Just a quick session here, just trying to get a little bit of a stimulus before we go into the back end of peak week. If you guys have questions about stringing sessions into a second show or anything along those lines, put them in the comments below and we will make sure that you like that video, subscribe, and stay tuned for all the content that's to come.